What's going on, Dolphin fans? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here. I have two videos that I am going to do for you today. This one is going to be a little bit of a COVID update. This one's actually positive, though. Both teams had some positive updates. No new players have been added, and both teams have gotten some players back. So we're going to talk about that. I still do need to do my post-game analysis video for the Saints game, which I will be doing in a little while. So I will be getting that out for you tonight. So check for that. But first, let's go ahead and get into this swap over. I'm not going to worry. This article goes into injury report and stuff too, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm only going to worry about the COVID stuff right now because there were changes. So as you can see, Miami activated tight end Sethan Carter, cornerback Justin Coleman, guard Robert Jones, center Greg Mance, and linebacker Duke Riley. And then they added Spencer Pulley officially to the practice squad. They still have so those excuse me, those are the guys that are coming back. We had about 14, if I'm not mistaken, players altogether. 5 players came off today, so now we're down to like 9. We should be down to about 9. But again, of course, for the Dolphins, like almost none of these players matter except for one, which we'll get to in a sec. Well, I guess Adam Butler is kind of, and John Jenkins actually are kind of a big deal. These 3 guys first that are still, and there's a chance that they could come back, but they just got put on yesterday, and so they could end up missing the game. Adam Butler and John Jenkins are kind of important. They are backups, but they do get put into the rotation, so on that defensive line. And similarly to how I was talking about the Saints defensive line in this past game, they did have their starters, but they were unable to rotate guys in and out to give them rest and stuff like that because they didn't have any of their backups. So those guys would be potentially important for this upcoming game. Brandon Jones is obviously important. One of our young safeties. So those guys, obviously we'll keep an eye on all of these guys. But these 3 guys, Preston Williams and Durval Quiros-Nito, all got put on yesterday. So there is a chance that they will miss the game. Obviously, Durval Quiros-Nito, we don't care about him. He's a practice squad guy, and, he just kind of sits there because he's the foreign player. He came over through the foreign player program or whatever, so he has the roster exemption, so he just sits there. Preston Williams hasn't done shit and has been injured, so obviously no big deal. Yeah. And then these guys were being placed back on the practice squad. So now, and then, so just real quick, they also have Lynn Bowden Jr., Alan Hearns is also there, and Solomon Kinley and Albert Wilson are on the COVID list. So that's the full list of Miami's COVID. Lynn Bowden Jr., obviously he's been on IR all year, doesn't matter to us. Butler could be potentially a big deal. Alan Hearns, he's been on injured reserve, so he doesn't matter. Jenkins and Jones, potentially a big deal if they can't come back. Those 3 guys, Solomon Kinley, Williams, don't really matter. Albert Wilson, not a huge deal, although obviously he does get some snaps. And Quiros-Nito, we don't care about. So for the Titans, let's see. Taylor Lewan was activated off of the COVID-19 list today, so he will be back for this game. It looks like Greg Saffold will also be available, so their offensive line is getting bolstered a little bit. But let's see, right now their COVID list includes defensive lineman Danico Autry, which is a huge loss for them if he can't come back. Linebacker Jayon Brown, guard Nate Davis, Bud Dupree. All of these guys are huge. They did get added over the past couple days though, so they could come back. Caleb Farley, Julio Jones, Kendall Lamb, not so big, but Buster Screen, Nick Westbrook-Akine. Again, like all of these guys have already been on the list, either got put on like Monday or Tuesday. So all of them could potentially come back. These last 2 guys, Bodie Calhoun and Cody Hollister, whatever, they're practice squad guys. The rest of these guys could come back. So if they do, then for the Titans, it's no big deal because they'll have them available. If they don't, though, this is a number of important players, especially on their defense with Danico Autry, Jayon Brown, Bud Dupree, Buster Screen, right? And then big offensive weapons, Julio Jones and Nick Westbrook-Akine. So if those guys don't return by the game, those will be significant losses for the Tennessee Titans going into that matchup. And they will, if we were to play the game with these players currently on the COVID list, it's not a situation which I would think that it should be postponed like I did last week, because there's not like a super lot of players on either team or both teams. It's just a handful. It's less than 10 players on each team. Although I will say that it does ultimately affect the Titans more and favors the Dolphins overall because of the players in particular that are out. We would be missing 2 rotational defensive linemen and one of our young safeties, and they would be missing one of their prime linebackers, 2 of their prime linebackers, one of their defensive ends that's one of their top pass rushers, 2 of their top offensive weapons, one of their top slot corners, I think Buster Screen is. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? So it would favor the Dolphins and hurt the Titans in that situation. But in this context and in this case, because again, I gotta keep it consistent. It's not enough that in this case I would say that the game should be postponed, because even though they will be missing some significant players, should that be the case, it's not like they're completely decimated. It's a handful of guys. It sucks, but it you know, like I said, I just got to stay consistent. And so I had my limits, I had my threshold set, and any team that's had 15 plus players put on the COVID list, I don't think should have to play that week. And then it's funny too, because then today the Saints got 12 players back. Like, they activated 12 players off the COVID list. So, you know, they're probably going to, I think they play the Panthers this week. I'm pretty sure they're going to fucking, especially because Sam Darnold apparently is going to be starting. So I'm pretty sure the Saints are going to smash the Panthers, and they have a pretty easy game at the end of the schedule too. So they certainly still could make the playoffs, but their chances were way put in jeopardy because they had to play the game against us. And I don't think that was fair. As of right now, I don't think that's the case for this game. But if the, rest of the week plays out and either team, so that includes the Dolphins, if either team ends up putting a ton of players on the COVID list and they break 15, that 15 threshold of mine, then I will personally believe that it should be postponed. Now, do I think it will be? No, of course not. They obviously didn't postpone the last one. They barely postponed a couple of the earlier games that had teams heavily hit. So they obviously don't really give a shit about it. I don't expect it, and I know Dolphins fans don't give a shit about it unless it's us. But it's funny too, because just one more quick thing. I saw some Dolphins fans like on Twitter or something that were, well, first and foremost, there were Dolphins fans that said the Jets game should be postponed simply because we were missing Waddle and Holland. That's not even close to the set of circumstances that the Saints had to play under, both in quantity of players and also the number of key starters and prominent players and high caliber players, right? So not even close to the same thing. But then I saw, some Dolphins fans on social media and whatever this week being like, starting to be all concerned because Brandon Jones got put on the COVID list and oh my God, man. And so having the attitude like, it's so ridiculous to me, and that's why I say I got to stick to my principles, bro, because I'm not going to sit there and flip-flop just to fucking benefit me or my team, bro. Like, that shit needs to be fair. And if Dolphins fans are going to be out there bitching and moaning and complaining because we lose 1 or 2 important players and they're not going to give a shit and actually revel in the fact that the opposing team this past week was missing 20 plus players and a gang of fucking super important players, I just don't know what to fucking say about that, bro. To me, it's despicable, if I'm being honest. It's just being a shitty fucking human being. And so it violates my morals and my principles, and I can't be that way. So that's how I feel about it. Did want to update you guys on that, though. So with that, before I do, let me make sure to remind you about the Rave On Sports App, the new fan-driven sports app for all your sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, college, whatever you like, they got it, and they're looking to enhance your game day experience with live play-by-play coverage, live chats with other fans and content creators like myself, as well as provide you with an arena to dispute all of the terrible officiating that we've seen all year and for the past few years and probably the foreseeable future. So look for that in the links to that in the description box below. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at DillonTartaro, as well as on Instagram at Dolphins_with_Dillon. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.